down. Lots of pressure are emerging from all angles for him to just succumb, because these public servants are so much used to these petty expenditures. They want to expend every money, they want to go into every project, yet the people in those institutions, Casita, PSFU, National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to the level of the parishes, they are small institutions, they are small units that can wisely use this money, be implemented to the letter, than if the public people are the ones handling them. So we think government needs to cut expenditure. We wanted to do this yesterday, not even now, and the earlier the better for this. You know, politically they will be affected in the short run, but in the long run we shall all enjoy. Because what is the relationship between a good road from Luwero to Kampala? Does it need to pass through as many districts? What is the danger of having a road from Semuto to Kampala passing through one district? Why do we need to see that there are many districts, each handling a portion, other than it being handled at once, so that there are less administration costs? Ugandans are very enterprising. These people who are handling these offices can go to farm, can go to trade, can go to industry. They are creative. But now you just nurture them there, you give them offices, you give them cars to administer the same services that would be administered from afar, but with the positive results. All the supplementaries you hear are private, affecting the private room for borrowing. The tax, for as long as you have a lot to expend on politicians and technical staffs, you must pay a higher tax rate. In the long run, what you pay to the taxman, the collector, should be replicated in the services on the ground: electricity, water, roads, air transport, bank loans that are favorable, fair interest rates. How can you have fair interest rates when the government is also in the same queue with you, borrowing from the same commercial institutions? So all this suggests that the negative impact of excessive cost of administration of the country affects the tax base, affects the trading community. Yeah, I think we need to look at every opening as an opportunity. Look at the example of the borders. Other than politicizing the industry, we need to demarcate and say those in Kampala and adjoining areas per annum pay some money, 100,000. Those in the next districts can pay 70, and those to the extreme can pay 50 per annum. This is money they can afford. But depending on the number of motorcycles, this will be a very new added income on the side of the tax. And every opportunity that opens, we also need to finally block all Akizarias and unfair supplementaries. The big must pay big. You hear billions are being forgiven and waived off some entrepreneurs, yet goods of the middle class are auctioned in URA because of failure to pay certain amounts of taxes. What's the criteria?
Well, reducing on government expenditure, that's the discussion in the on ground. That is with a spokesperson of Casita and Pala City Traders Association, that is Issa Sekito. Now, before we get there, we see that the Ugandan government announced that it won't take new loans, that is in the financial year 2023-2024, after the country's debt hit unsustainable levels. Now this the actual words of that is Ramadan Gobi, the permanent secretary to the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. He said there will be no borrowing next financial year, and this shall continue over the short to medium term, so as to minimize the share of Uganda revenue To minimize the share of Uganda Revenue Authority, revenue is being used to service a debt that is in the medium term, so as to make more resources available to finance critical development priorities that is of government, said that is Ramadan Gobi said regarding that. He also went further. He said that the new fiscal policy guidelines have guided the repurposing of the budget in a view of constrained resources. Now, the development comes at a time when the government is choking on debt and failing to absorb acquired loans. Jory, you see that you've heard all these, of course, these statements made by Ramadan Gobi regarding that. Before even we get into what Issa Sekito was discussing, what's your overall take about this whole decision?
Well, I think, first of all, when you look at what all the experts have actually been revealing, besides that, in the bigger picture, for the viewers, I think this is one of the key trending discussions everywhere. The fact that now the Ugandan government had apparently come, that is the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, did apparently come out and reveal that now we are going to cut on the expenses. This is because they want to service the 50 trillion shilling budget of 2023-2024, according to what the budget framework paper is all about. You know, the budget is likely to be 50 trillion Ugandan shillings. That is just an addition of 3 trillion Ugandan shillings from the previous one budget, or the current one. So one may still ask, because Uganda's budget has always been increasing every year, but because our public debt is actually growing, and the scare is it may hit 90 trillion Ugandan shillings. So imagine if your public debt hits twice as much as your budget, then that means you're not doing well enough as the Ministry of Finance or as the Treasury. So this goes back to the fact that we've been trying to discuss most of these things, and it takes us back to understanding that, well, the entire reason as to why they are cutting this expenditure or these expenses is to service the budget. But one of the key expenses that have actually been highlighted is basically looking at the fact that one is to do with the fact that no more payment or no more payment is going to members of parliament going out on holiday anymore.
Trips and
it is only for those who belong to the top, to the top in the top offices. For example, the head of the legislature, that means the deputy, that is the Speaker of Parliament and the deputy. Those are the only people who will be able to go for these particular trips. Then the head of the judiciary, that is the Chief Justice, and of course the one who comes after the Chief Justice, then the President and the Vice President, and a few of the ministers that the President does choose to go with. So those are the only people who will now be funded by the ministry to travel. So that means any member of parliament who wants to travel in the next financial year, it has to come from your own wallet. Then the other expenses goes back to no more buying cars or no more buying of expensive fleet. It is only going to be, the only vehicles that will be bought will be ambulances or essential vehicles that will clearly be needed in a given sector, and of which those are very few. So that means we don't expect any budget to come out saying we are going to, yes, it's going on to these people, or it is actually going to service this kind of project. But then also the other funny twist about it, and where you want to feel pity for some of the public servants, is the fact that there is no salary increment that is going to happen in the next financial year. So it goes back to the teachers who are expecting a salary increment in the next financial year. So that means the expectations are likely, really likely not to happen. So you want to feel sorry for them again, and try to understand that, well, as things go by or as things keep on moving on, we only pray that our public debt doesn't grow. Because the reason as to why it is so, or why they are actually trying to curb this kind of situation, is to make sure that the public debt doesn't grow in any way. And I think, like I did mention, for those who are actually expecting salary increments, that is those are the people that you may feel sorry for.
Actually, me, I don't care about, just in my own opinion regarding that. What really matters is the fact that we are taking this route. Because one of the reasons that's why our public debt has been increasing, it's been that the money which is being borrowed what does it do? Because that's what really matters. So what to me, I feel like that will really matter the most here is, yes, we are saying that we're going to use the revenues from the Ghana Revenue Authority, I mean, to service the budget internally, but are we assured that this time around we shall see impact? Is it that when the public debt reduces, we shall experience economic growth? Because I don't know. Because I want to understand the relationship between not borrowing and economic prosperity.
No, the issue is it's not about borrowing, because borrowing has never been a problem. And we always have this kind of discussions where even economic experts will tell you borrowing cannot be a problem. And borrowing has never been one. The only problem that we always have is borrowing for what purpose?
Exactly.
Because if you borrow money, you make sure that the money that you're actually borrowing is going to do something realistic or something that is yes, something that is very developmental to the economy in any way.
Yeah.
So if you borrow the money, you make sure the money is going to do something.
Okay.
That's exactly where all the entire argument is all about, or where the entire argument rotates. That sometimes we end up borrowing money, and when you sit down now, because currently what the different committees in Parliament are doing, in particular the National Economic Committee, is reviewing the performance of these loans, for example. This sector, we loaned out this money, we went for a loan, we applied for a loan. Did it do
what it was intended to do?
Yes. Or these are all the questions they ask. So you get to realize that now the ministry sits down, weighs the options, and looks at the alternatives. Now, in which way? So the alternatives is, do we continue borrowing to service this kind of projects? Or do we first withdraw from these particular projects and see how the economy is? So I do believe this kind of situation that we're in now is more like a benchmarking. We want to look and see. It is like a try and test and see. Because we've tried out borrowing and, trying to, put out all these expenses, trying to, feed money into different different lifestyle. Now, for example, sometimes you realize it is important for our members of Parliament to travel. Maybe when they travel, they go through all these trainings, meet and try to implement policies they found out into this country. But you realize even when they travel, very few policies are changed.
Very true.
So maybe now the ministry got to realize that if this money was kept in the treasury, or if we stop borrowing this money to fund MPs' travels, you never know how this public debt may be. It may decrease. And of course, you also get to realize that now sometimes you ask yourself, why are we supposed to be buying vehicles every other financial year? Can't we keep the ones we have for like 3 to 4 years and just do servicing and maintenance? Because we all have, we all know family members. My father, for example, he has been with his current vehicle for years. So you ask yourself a question, regardless of the fact that these are highly recognized individuals in society, they will definitely need Porsche cars and brand new vehicles. But the question is, how do you maintain these vehicles? Are we going to buy vehicles every other year? So these are some of the services. But I did mention of the issue to do with salary increment. Why why that one is also something that is a bit touchy. Is you realize the kind of economic situation that we are in as a country is not favorable to everybody. That is why people who work in private sectors end up resigning to look for a better place that is going to pay them more money than they more money so as to fit in the current situation. First of all, you look at someone working as a public servant, you have children, school fees is very expensive lately. The cost of living, very high. You need to provide on a daily, you need to save, you need to... So you realize that if you are an employee who is working with government and now you expect no salary increment it's just like a period of 2 years now. Regardless of the fact that we may look at it as a one financial year, but that means the next time for them to receive increment may come in the 2024-2025 financial year, which is giving you 2 years, maybe
2 to 3 years
for this to happen. So all this goes back to the fact that is one of the people you will have to actually feel pity for. But at the time, for now, I think the ministry is actually trying to defend or to at least prevent something that will erupt in the near future, and we have no control over it. So for now, as we can still contain it, I think this is the best way to do so.
Thank you very much, Jerome, for that insight regarding that. And of course, seeing how, of course, the public debt and of course government coming out saying that no more borrowing the next financial year. But now still further, if I'm to review a report here, then According to the Auditor General's report, that is for the year ending 2022, Uganda's government loans have increased. That is from 69.6 trillion to 77. That is 0.9 trillion in 2022, constituting an increase of 8.3 trillion. 8.3 trillion shillings. That's a 12% increase. Now, this position reflects an increase in borrowing that could make debt payment unsustainable to the country. Of course, said the Auditor General, that's John Mwanga, in the report from that. Well, we've come to the end of SMB today, this morning, and of course, very, very grateful from how we started from at 7 a.m. all the way till here, as you're still watching Smart 24 TV as we are driving your business. Of course, don't forget to check us out on our social media handles at Smart 24 TV on Twitter, Smart 24 TV Official, that is on Facebook, Smart 24 TV Live, that is on YouTube, as you will be able to catch us at whatever part of the country you will be at, or even the globe at large. Channel 394 GOTV and Channel 372 on DSTV, as we bring you the regional and international business updates. Coming up is Financial Markets with Anthony Sebali. And of course, why not say goodbye for now? Till tomorrow.